This is not going to be a review on this axe. This is going to be a first look, an overview, first impression type video. I just picked up this product. I haven't used it yet because I want to talk about it before I used it. First off, the quality is superb. Second off, the feel of it is just awesome. Um, what we're talking about here is the Wetterlings Scandinavian Forest Axe. If you're watching this video, you've probably Googled Grans Forest Brooks, Hultfors, Wetterlings, Council Tool, lots and lots of brands of axes. And if you're watching this video, it probably means that you're looking for a high quality tool for specific purposes. Before picking up this axe, in the past I've used a few Grans Forest Brooks. I have not used the Hultafors Brooks or whatever. It's another Scandinavian axe company. But I've used about 2 or 3 Grans Forest Brooks. Personally, I just like Wetterlings. They're slightly cheaper, and to me, they do the same thing as the Grans Forest Brooks, and they just tend to be a little bit cheaper. But they're both awesome brands. They both offer a lot of similar products. The Grans Forest Brooks Scandinavian Forest Axe is pretty much identical to this, with a few notes that I'll try and remember to mention. Wetterlings Scandinavian Forest Axe. I don't know why that name is hard for me to remember. I want to say Swedish felling axe or just forest axe or large forest axe or something. But it's the Scandinavian Forest Axe. Some people call it the large forest axe, whatever. Um, so, a little bit of reasoning why I bought this axe. Well, first off, like I said, I have not a lot, but quite a bit of experience with axes. Especially the ones I like the most. Everybody has, everyone can pick their poison. Personally, I like Scandinavian or specifically like Swedish manufactured axes. They just, of all of them I've used, they tend to be the greatest. And that is a very broad word, and it's kind of opinionated, but to me, they tend to be some of the best. So like I said, this is, let's see, probably maybe the 4th or 5th Wetterlings that I've handled. And I've had more in the past, sold or traded them or whatever. These are a few things that I want to point out about this axe, because first off, why did I get it? Well, I like Swedish axes, Wetterlings, Grand Force, everything like that. Other people, they like American or German or whatever. Some people like Chinese mass-produced garbage. Yeah, personally, for camping, hiking, bushcrafting, that type of thing. This is not an axe that you want to go out and start removing stumps and cutting roots and whatnot with this axe. If you do that, this axe will dull and the blade will chip and nick just as much as a Chinese offering. This is not an axe for that. This is a quality, just kind of like you might beat around a Mora knife, but if you were to get like a Fallkniven or a Busey or a Swamp Rat, Tops, some of those higher end knives, they're not meant to be can openers and to be pry bars and all this stuff. They're finely crafted tools, and they're designed to be used by semi-skilled craftsmen or tool handlers. They're not meant just for rookies to go out and oh, this is a survival knife, so I'll pry open this helicopter or whatever. Or yeah. So with that being said, this isn't something that you just give to some noob or whatever and tell them, yeah, go remove that stump, go, get that tree down and get the stump out of there. This isn't something like that. For jobs like that, um, I'd recommend something like this. This is a Trooper. It's from a big box store, Menards, something like that. It's a Trooper 3.5 pound single bit, 36-inch handle felling axe. And they cost about 20 or 30 bucks. And that one hasn't seen a lot of use, but I've used lots and lots of those double and single bit long handled axes that have nicks and whatnot. Those are the axes for those type of jobs. But again, we're talking about the Wetterlings here. So, a few of the reasons why I bought this. Number one, in the past I've used this, and this is a lot like the Grand Forest Brooks small forest axe. And I like to call this the small forest axe, but it's actually called the large hunter's axe. And Wetterling's titles are kind of like convoluted and they're always changing, more so than Grand Forest Brook. But I'll get the handle off here and compare the two, because I mean, this is the thing I was comparing it next to. So you can see the handle is, one thing. You can get like one extra hand on there if you're a three-handed foe. If not, you just have more swing. The head's profile, pretty comparable. This one I think has a little bit, it's more wedge-like. The blade is slightly, the bit of it is slightly longer. So in this video I kind of want to compare, because like on YouTube, the internet and whatnot, there are not a lot of good reviews or whatever on this. So first, let me just cut this tag off here. And it's like officially whatever. Like I said, I just picked this up a few hours ago. Wetterlings Scandinavian Forest axe, made in Sweden. The telephone number, pictures, chopping, splitting. Do not use this as a instructional DIY book on how to use an axe. Get somebody who's skilled to teach you, or that's kind of what I'd recommend. But common sense things: choose the right size axe, wear eye protection, keep the axe sharp, owning a Wetterlings, sharpening your axe, oiling, greasing, warming your axe. So compared to Grand Forest Brooks booklets, Grand Forest Brooks, they come with a literal book. That's part of the reason why they cost a little bit more. Their fit and finish is slightly better, but and those books that Grand Forest Brooks puts out, they're actually quite useful. So that's the packaging, if you want to call it, the tag. So first off, this will always vary a little bit. This has a 25.25-inch handle. This here has a 19.25-inch handle. So this is exactly 6 inches longer. Which is kind of what I wanted. The head on this is about 6.5 inches, and on the small is 6.25 inches. The bit is about 3.25 inches wide. On the small, it is 3.125. What other measurements would people want? Not that many. It's this measurement, and that's about it. The handles feel pretty similar. This one has been sanded down just to get nicks, sap, garbage on there, and instead of using cleaner, I just sand it, and over time it's gotten smoother, and it's also gotten slimmer, which is what I prefer. With this axe, just like the other one, it's easy to choke up like this. both equally well. This one doesn't have as much finesse because it is heavier, but this one, um, just the same. Something that was impressive to me is, you know, this is just the invoice it came with. I'm not returning this, so this is factory edge for an axe. This is almost sharper than the Essie that I picked up, and knives that I've gotten in the past. Look at that, and that's from an axe. So either in this video or another follow-up video, I'm going to do some chopping with this. Because of that sharp edge, this sinks into wood. It barely glances off wood. It bites very, very deep. Splitting, I'm sure, will do slightly better than this because it has a longer handle. The reason I picked up this one is this one is alright. For me, for how I use the axe and for my height, this is a hatchet to me. You can use two hands, but it's like, come on, really? It's like using a framing hammer with two hands. I'm used to like Western style framing hammers, which have about a 20-inch handle. So I grip this one-handed, and I can use it quite easily as a hatchet. But there's times when a hatchet just won't cut it, even a large hatchet, which is why I picked up this. This is the smallest I consider an axe to be, 25 inches. And again, that's personal preference. Some people consider this an axe. I don't. I consider this a single-handed hatchet that can be used for two hands. This, you get a lot more reach, which translates to a lot more power. You get a slightly heavier head, which again leads to more power. When you mix those two together, you're going to get a more effective axe. So, I do have some experience with this size of axe. This is a favorite of mine. Even though it's again a $30 trooper or something from Walmart or Menards. It's called like a 2 1/4 or 2.5 pound boy's axe. It has a slightly longer handle. I want to say this one's about 28. No, it's about 27, about 2 inches longer. For a size comparison, because a lot of people own this axe and like it. You can see the blade is shorter this way. The cutting edge might be a little bit longer. Yeah, it's probably 1/2 inch longer. And this one feels more head heavy, even though this has a heavier head. I don't know how that works. The handle on this one is slimmer, which I like. The grain orientation is perfect. That's something I forgot to mention. First, I want to show you this. This is your typical axe. You can see the grain right up there, and they're kind of going at a diagonal. That's not what you want, especially in any wood handle striking tool, but especially an axe. This is my Wetterlings small forest axe or hatchet. Look at that grain orientation. That's about as perfect as you can get. That leads to, I mean, that's awesome because you can have a slimmer handle for the same amount of strength. It's just stronger. Overall, it's just stronger. That's what you want. And it's not like axe handles will never break, but being properly used, not a beat up axe, but a properly used quality axe with a quality axe handle, the wood handle will last a long time. If you're not stupid with it and you keep it oiled, you don't leave it outside all that much, you don't, the wood isn't always wet and stuff like that. A lot of the same things as you do to take care of the head. And the grain orientation, you can see on there, is perfect. Well, it's not perfect, but it is very near perfect, which that's impressive. Lanyard hole. And before I end the video, and this axe is just so great, I might do a few videos on this, but I don't know if you can see this scale in frame, but this is the first time of me weighing it too. A lot of people like ounces first, so this is my small Wetterlings. And just the axe weighs 2 pounds 7.3 ounces, so round that down, 2 pounds 7 ounces. Alright, easily packable, does add some weight. 20 inch handle, pound and a half head, all that. It was the first time of me weighing this axe. I had to look, long and hard on the internet to find the exact weight of this axe. It can vary by a few ounces. I understand that. But this weighs 3 pounds, 2 ounces. So this weighs only a half pound more. This is what is impressive to me. This axe, so 3 pounds, 2 ounces. And I'll annotate some of the measurements and weights. This axe weighs about 10 ounces more, but it has a half pound heavier head. So by having a longer handle, you're only adding a few ounces. But you have the heavier head, so it's going to be more powerful. I haven't used it, but I can tell you right now it's going to be more powerful. For some people, it will be harder to control, but again, it's a give and take with axes, just like with knives. One axe can't do everything. If you want something to be able to, fall trees, split them, be used as a hatchet, be used for carving, being used to make fences and to chop and limb trees and all these things, you're going to have a collection of axes, and that's all right. Some people are afraid of owning all these axes or bladed weapons, but there's no such thing as a single perfect axe, in my opinion, and in my use. I use quite a few axes. So again, this is the Wetterlings large hunter's axe, but I call it the Wetterlings small forest axe. This is the Scandinavian large forest axe. It's about exactly 6 inches longer and a half pound heavier head. Okay. One last thing that I want to end this video on is, for a long time I was debating between this one and the Forester's, or the fine Forester's axe, or the Forester's fine axe. That one I do not own, but it has a head about the same weight as this. It's about 1.4, it's 1 pound 6 ounces, the head on there, and this is about 1 pound 8 ounces, so close enough. It has a more carpenter style blade, so the bit is less curved, a little bit straighter. I believe it's slightly longer, and it comes back, then it kind of has a cutout here. And I've heard from people it's easier to choke up on and for detail work and whatnot. The carpenter style axes are good for detail chopping, for carving, stuff like that. And like the title implies, it's more of a fine axe. It's not like you can't use it for real work, but it's, in a collection of axes, it's more of a fine, delicate tool. That axe, so it has a slightly lighter head than this small one. It has a 23-inch handle, I believe. So it's really a 22, 23-inch handle. So it's pretty much right in between these two sizes. And apparently the handle's a little bit slimmer than this one, which leads to slightly less weight. So the weight of that one is surprisingly, I think, close to this, or maybe an ounce heavier, but you get a longer handle, which for a lot of people, you want a longer handle. The longer the axe handle is, the safer the axe is. I can vouch for that. I use axes a lot. And then the other thing, like I said, this to me is a hatchet. It's not classified as one. People would classify this as an axe, but this is, at least for me, I use this as a hatchet. I don't use this for falling huge trees. I use this I can even use this for carving. It's more of a delicate type tool. You can use it one-handed, choked up, whatever. Has a really sharp blade, just like that one, but this one I've sharpened over time. If they do dull a little bit, it literally takes probably 20 seconds to hone that edge up. And if you do that and you take care of your tools, you should never have to quote-unquote sharpen these axes for a long time. As long as you keep these edges finely honed, you shouldn't really have to get a file on these things and really reshape and reprofile an edge. There's people that like different cutting edges. For me, I found out that I really, really like what Wetterlings and Gränsfors Bruks and the Swedish axe makers, the edge profile that they put on their axes. So because of that, I don't touch it. It's not perfect, but It's just tons of work to like reprofile and reshape and all this stuff. As you can see, this one used to have a black head, and I've like tried to thin this out. Surprisingly, it's kind of sharp now, but it has a very thick wedge-like profile. I don't really like this. It does split reasonably well, but again, um, a splitting axe or a splitting maul is easier. And then the Grand Forest Brooks Scandinavian Forest axe and this one. The only difference between them, they have about the same handle. The only difference is they're made by different companies, and as I can tell, the Grand Forest Brooks has a slightly slimmer, more concave. It's a slimmer profile in here, which leads to a slightly lower head weight. So I've heard it bites really deep, but when it comes to like splitting and stuff like that, this is slightly better.